Good day, this is Professor Will, CBMD, PhD. Today is Monday, July 23, 2018. It is 7:42, 4 seconds a.m. Eastern Standard Time. First quartile, low quartile, lower quartile, Q1. For a set of data, a number for which 25% of the data is less than that number. The first quartile is the same as the median of the data which are less than the overall median. Same as the 25th percentile. Third quartile, high quartile, higher quartile, Q3. For a set of data, a number for which 75% of the data is less than that number. The third quartile is the same as the median of the part of the data which is greater than the median. Same as the 75 percentile. QED, an abbreviated Latin phrase used to indicate the end of a proof, especially if it may not be immediately obvious that the proof is complete. QED stands for the Latin phrase quod erat demonstrandum, which means that which was not to be proven. Quadrilateral, quadrangle, a polygon with 4 sides. Quadrangle, an angle with terminal side on the x-axis or y-axis. Quadrants, the 4 sections into which the xy plane is divided by the x and y axis. Quadratic, an equation, graph, or data that can be modeled by a degree 2 polynomial. Quadratic equation, an equation includes only second-degree polynomial. Quadratic formula, a formula for the roots of a quadratic equation. Quadratic polynomial, a polynomial of degree 2. Quadruple, multiplied by 4. Quartic polynomial, a polynomial of degree 4. Quartiles, the collective terms for a first quartile and third quartile of a set of data. That is, the 25th and 75th percentile. Quintic polynomial, a polynomial of degree 5. Quintiles, the 20th and 80th percentiles of a set of data. Quintuple, multiplied by 5. Quotient, the result of dividing two numbers or expressions. For example, the 40th divided by 5 has a quotient of 8. Note 43 divided by 5 has a quotient of 8 and a remainder of 3. And quotient rule, a formula for the derivative of the quotient of two functions. Radian, a unit for measuring angles. 180 degrees equals pi radians and 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians. The number of radians in an angle equals the number of radii it takes to measure a circular arc described by that angle. Note 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians because a complete circular arc has a length equal to 2 pi times the radius. Radical, the square root symbol which is used to indicate square roots or ninth roots. The number under the radical symbol, that is, a number which is having a square root taken or cube root, fourth root, fifth root, nth root, etc. For example, 3 is the radicand in 3 squared. Radius of a circle or a sphere, a line segment between the center and a point on the circle or a sphere. The word radius also refers to the length of this segment. Radius of convergence, the distance between the center of a power series interval of convergence and its endpoints. If the series only converges at a single point, the radius of convergence is 0. If the series converges over all real numbers, the radius of convergence is infinity. Range, the set of y values of a function or relation. More generally, the range is a set of values assumed by a function or relation over all permitted values of the independent variables. Ratio, the result of dividing one number or expression by another. Sometimes a ratio is written as proportions such as 3 to 2. More often, though, ratios are simplified according to the standard rules for simplifying fractions or irrational expressions. Note, the word rational indicates that a ratio, in the standard sense, is involved. The word rate also indicates a ratio is involved, as in instantaneous rate of change or average rate of change. Ratio identities, trig identities defining tangent and cotangent in terms of sine and cosine. Ratio test, a convergence test used when terms of a series contain factorials and or nth powers. Rational equation, fractional equation, an equation which has a rational expression on one or both sides of an equal sign. Sometimes rational equations have extraneous solutions. Rational exponents, fractional exponents, the use of rational numbers as exponents. A rational exponent represents both an integer exponent and an nth root. The root is found in the denominator like a tree. The root is at the bottom, and the integer exponent is found in the numerator. Rational expression, fractional expression, an expression that can be written as a polynomial divided by a polynomial. Rational numbers, all positive and negative fractions, including integers and so-called improper fractions. Formally, rational numbers are the set of all real numbers that can be rewritten as a ratio of integers with non-zero denominator. Rational numbers are indicated by the symbol Q. Rationalizing the denominator, the process by which a fraction is rewritten so that the denominator contains only rational numbers. Ray, a part of a line starting at a particular point and extending infinitely in one direction. Real numbers, all numbers on a number line. This includes, but is not limited to, positives and negatives, integers and rational numbers, square roots, cube roots, pi, etc. Real numbers are indicated by either r or pi. Real part. For a complex number a plus bi, the real part is a. Multiplicative inverse of a number reciprocal. The reciprocal of x is 1 over x. In other words, a reciprocal is a fraction flipped upside down. Multiplicative inverse means the same thing as reciprocal. Reciprocal identities. The identities defining cosecant, secant, cotangent in terms of sine, cosine, and tangent. Reciprocal rule, a formula for the derivative of the reciprocal of a function. Rectangle, a box shape on a plane. Formally, a rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 congruent angles, all 90 degrees. Cartesian coordinates, rectangular coordinates, x, y, or x, y, z coordinates. Cartesian form, rectangular form. A function or relation written using x, y, or x, y, z coordinates. Rectangular parallelepiped box, cuboid, a box shape in 3-dimensional space, formerly a polyhedron, for which all faces are rectangles. Recursive formula for a sequence of a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, ellipse, a sub n, ellipse. A recursive formula is a formula that requires the computation of all previous terms in order to find the value of a sub n. Reduce a fraction, simplify, that is, cancel out all common factors in the numerator and denominator until no common factors remain. Reduce row echelon form of a matrix form used in solving linear system of equations. Reference angle. For any given angle, its reference angle is an acute version of that angle. In standard position, the reference angle is the smallest angle between the terminal side and the x-axis. The values of the trig functions of an angle degree are the same as the trig values of the reference angle for degree. Give or take a minus sign. Reflection flip. A transformation in which a geometric figure is reflected across a line, creating a mirror image. That line is called the axis of reflection. Reflexive property of equality. The property that a equals a. One of the equivalence properties of equality. Regression. The process of finding a regression equation. Regression equation, a function of a particular form, linear, quadratic, exponential, etc., that fits a set of partial data as closely as possible. Linear fit regression line, any line used to model the pattern in a set of paired data. Note the least square regression line is the most commonly used linear fit. Dodecahedron, regular dodecahedron. A polyhedron with 12 faces. A regular dodecahedron has faces that are all regular pentagons. Note, it is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Icosahedron, regular icosahedron. A polyhedron with 20 faces. A regular icosahedron has faces that are all equilateral triangles. Note, it is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Octahedron, regular octahedron, a polyhedron with 8 faces. A regular octahedron has faces that are all equilateral triangles. A regular octahedron looks like it was made by gluing together the bases of 2 square-based pyramids. Note, it is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Regular polygon, a polygon for which all sides are congruent and all angles are congruent. Platonic solids, regular polyhedra, the solids which have faces that are all congruent, regular polygons, and which has dihedral angles that are all congruent. There are only 5 possible shapes for a regular polyhedron: regular tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron. Regular prism, a prism with bases that are all regular polygons. The bases are not necessarily aligned one directly above the other. Note, for some mathematicians, regular prism means the same as right regular prism. Regular pyramid, a pyramid with a base that is a regular polygon. The apex is not necessarily directly above the center of the base. Note, for some mathematicians, regular pyramid means the same as right regular pyramid. Right regular prism, a right prism with bases that are regular polygons. Right regular pyramid, a right pyramid with a base that is a regular polygon. If the base is a triangle, then the figure is called a tetrahedron. Note, for some mathematicians, regular pyramid means the same as right regular pyramid. Tetrahedron, regular tetrahedron, a polyhedron with 4 triangular faces, or a pyramid with a triangular base. Note, a regular tetrahedron which has faces that are equilateral triangles is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Related rates, a class of problems in which rates of change are related by means of differentiation. Standard examples include water dripping from a cone, shaped tank, and a man's shadow lengthening as he walks away from a street lamp. Relation, a set of ordered pairs. Relative maximum, relative max, local maximum, local max. The highest point in a particular section of a graph. Note, the first derivative test and the second derivative test are common methods used to find maximum values of a function. Relative minimum, relative min, local minimum, local min. The lowest point in a particular section of a graph. Note, the first derivative test and the second derivative test are common methods used to find minimum values of a function. Relatively prime describes 2 numbers for which the only common factor is 1. In other words, relatively prime numbers have a greatest common factor GCF of 1. For example, 6 and 35 are relatively prime, GCF equals 1. The numbers 6 and 8 are not relatively prime, GCF equals 2. Note, when you are asked to write a fraction as a ratio of relatively prime integers, you are being asked to simplify the fraction as much as possible. Remainder, the part left over after long division. Remainder of a series, the difference between the nth partial sum and the sum of a series. Remainder theorem, an assertion that PC is a remainder when polynomial Px is divided by x minus c. Removable discontinuity hole, a hole in a graph, that is a discontinuity that can be repaired by filling in a single point. In other words, a removable discontinuity is a point at which a graph is not connected but can be made connected by filling in a single point. Formally, a removable discontinuity is one at which the limit of the function exists but does not equal the value of the function at that point. This may be because the function does not exist at that point. Residual, the vertical distance between a data point and the graph of a regression equation. The residual is positive if the data point is above the graph. The residual is negative if the data point is below the graph. The residual is 0 only when the graph passes through the data point. Restricted domain, the use of a domain for a function that is smaller than the function's domain of definition. Note, restricted domains are commonly used to specify a one-to-one section of a function. Restricted function, a function with a restricted domain. Rhombus, a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. Note that the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular, as the case with all kites. Note, a square is a special kind of rhombus. Riemann sum, an approximation of a definite integral. Elliptic geometry, Riemannian geometry, a non-Euclidean geometry in which there are no parallel lines. The geometry is usually thought of as taking place on the surface of a sphere. The lines are great circles and the points are pairs of diametrically opposed points. As a result, all lines intersect. Right angle, a 90-degree angle. Circular cone, a right cone with a base that is a circle. Right circular cylinder, a right cylinder with bases that are circles. Right cone, a cone that has its apex aligned directly above the center of its base. The base need not be a circle. Right cylinder, a cylinder which has bases aligned one directly above the other. The bases need not be circles. Right prism, a prism which has bases aligned one directly above the other and has lateral faces that are rectangles. Right pyramid, a pyramid that has its apex aligned directly above the center of the base. Cube, regular hexahedron, a regular polyhedron for which all faces are squares. Note, it is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Right square prism, a box with at least one pair of opposite faces that are squares. It can also be described as a right prism with square bases. A right square prism which has square lateral face is a cube. Right triangle, a triangle which has a right 90-degree interior angle. Root mean square, RMS, a kind of average sometimes used in statistics and engineering, often abbreviated as RMS. To find the root mean square of a set of numbers, square all the numbers in the set and then find the arithmetic mean of the squares. Rolle's theorem, a theorem of calculus that ensures the existence of critical points between any 2 points on a nice function that have the same y value. Root, a solution to an equation of the form f of x equals 0. Roots may be real or complex. Root of a number, a term that can refer to the square root or nth root of a number. Root test, convergence test used when series terms contain nth power. Rose curve, a smooth curve with leaves arranged symmetrically above a common center. Rotation, a transformation in which a plane figure turns around a fixed center point. In other words, one point on the plane, the center of rotation, is fixed and everything else on the plane rotates about that point by a given angle. Rounding a number, a method of approximating a number using a nearby number at a given degree of accuracy. For example, 3.14159.265 rounded to the nearest thousands is 3.142. That is because the third number after the decimal point is the thousandth place, and because 3.14159.265 is closer to 3.142 than 3.141. Row echelon form of a matrix. Echelon form of a matrix. A matrix form used when solving linear system of equations. Row of a matrix, a horizontal set of numbers in the matrix. Row operations. The following methods used to transform matrices: trading 2 rows, multiplying a row by non-zero scalar, or adding a scalar multiple of one row to another row. Row reduction, the process of using row operations to transform a matrix into either row echelon or reduced row echelon form. RPM, revolutions per minute, a unit for measuring speed of rotation.